Now we'll go for the second case by Dr. Ramesh Adiraj. High-risk left main PCI in a patient with severe peripheral vascular disease, no access for hemodynamic support.
So this is an example of a left main case with a STEMI presentation. It's high risk because it's a STEMI with left main disease, and there's also thrombus. So that's why I think it's a complex, interesting case I thought would be interesting to present. I just wanted to start off with a little brief protocol that we follow. My name is Ramesh Adiraju, by the way, from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I have a endovascular and clinical autonomic research institute called RENEW Institute, which is revascularization by novel utilization of devices. So I developed protocols for aortic valvuloplasty, peripheral vascular disease, complex coronary interventions using devices in a different way. For example, for bifurcation stenosis, I've used a SilverHawk, the peripheral cutting device, to do primary atherectomy and stuff like that. So just wanted to present this case for complexity. So 85% of STEMI, this is not surprising. Everybody knows as thrombus burden. It's the extent of thrombus burden that's actually an important factor which we kept ignoring all these years. And that's why some of the lytics don't work. Major thrombus burden predisposes to a lot of complications. There are a couple things to watch on angiography that determine what is significant thrombus. If the thrombus defect is more than 50% the culprit vessel lumen, if there is a complete occlusion, if there is no flow despite wiring, most of the acute cases with thrombus, after you wire the lesion, it usually has some flow. These are all features of large thrombus. As I just mentioned, we've developed different approaches in complex situations. In acute MI thrombus patients, we front load them with eptifibrotide or bivalvurin in the emergency room. The idea being by the time they come to the cath lab, there's partial recanalization and flow. So that was part of the topic actually, to do complex intervention without an assist device. Usually if you have a major thrombus patient with acute MI, in an early cardiogenic shock, you would put a balloon pump or something before you do an intervention. These approaches actually help you try to minimize the requirement for those. Optimal thrombectomy is key for STEMI, I believe. And a lot of STEMI patients, unless there is an unstable underlying lesion, I really don't stent them all the time. I published this at the Asia Pacific Summit last year in China, where our experience was published. Here's one case. 48-year-old man was playing softball, had sudden chest pain, presented to the ER, acute ST elevations in anterior leads. First angiogram showed the first one, as you see. The LAD was a stump. That's major thrombus. That's what I mean by large thrombus burden. After we wired the lesion, there's still no flow. The thrombectomy device we used is not in market anymore. This was a case from 2006. I believe. It's an excisor thrombectomy catheter. After the first pass, you can see the vessel recanalized. Unstable, the underlying lesion is not unstable. So we completed more passes and left him without stenting. 6 months later, he had an angiogram, 5 weeks later, when he presented with chest pain actually. So we obviously did an angiogram. Vessel still stayed patent. I left him alone. It's 6 years out, he still does fine. Here's another case, which is what I'm going to discuss with some video clips. 45-year-old diabetic, morbidly obese, mixed hyperlipidemia with high triglycerides, who just, high triglycerides, as you know, diabetics, this is a vasculitis type of picture. She presented with the STEMI, anterior wall, ST changes, as you can see, was in kind of early cardiogenic shock, EKG. As you saw, the blood pressure was 90/60, she was very diaphoretic. Was front-loaded with bivalirudin and taken to the cath lab. Here's the right coronary, which is relatively disease-free. What's the next slide? Okay. Here's the left system. As you can see, there's distal left main disease and a large thrombus sitting in the LAD. So that's basically, I mean, typically you would have given a lytic or ballooned the LAD and sent her to the OR. But she was morbidly obese, diabetic. Rest of the disease, distal targets were not bad. However, she was in a STEMI presentation with early cardiogenic shock. She partially recanalized. I'm sure it's because of the front loading, because if the thrombus burden, she was probably totally occluded at that point. So we decided to go with the thrombus aspiration of the LAD first. This is what, even though there is left main disease, you would address the LAD first and recanalize the LAD so she would stabilize hemodynamically, and she did. After thrombus aspiration, couple passes, you can see LAD is clear. Good flow, blood pressure is better. And the point the previous presenter was making, there was circumflex ostium was clear of disease. So we also thrombus aspirated in the left main disease. Good flow in the circ. And then went ahead and stented right across the circ because there's no disease, and which is 99.9% of the time they'll do fine. And that's the final result. And the EKG settled down. 2 days later, she went home. This is a case from 2010. It's 2.5 years out, she still does fine. So the case example is to make a point about what's optimal for STEMI. Optimal treatment, I believe, for STEMI is, if there is thrombus, to manage the thrombus optimally. A lot of times you balloon the thrombus and put a stent, or give lytics and wait on them, or send them to, even if they have to go to the OR, if you manage the thrombus, their complications are better. Recovery from OR, LV remodeling or LV recovery is better. And here's the paper I was talking about. We did about close to 100 cases with this approach since over the last 5-7 years, since 2006. We've had good success. Almost 50% of the time or more, we didn't need to stent the patient. They were primary thrombectomy or thrombus aspiration, and all of them did well. There were 2 cases where, despite opening the vessel, the patient didn't survive even after hemodynamic support subsequently, because they came in too late and were already showered emboli, probably downstream. So in our limited experience, I think thrombus aspiration and provisional stenting, and not just blindly stenting every acute MI, is a cost-effective and relatively safe approach. And even if there is left main disease, you can still treat them with percutaneous approach. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Adhiraj. Any comments from the audience?
Dr. Adhiraju, how do you decide which patients to actually stent and, which to kind of leave alone in
So,
this kind of a situation?
as I was showing in the talk itself, after we do the thrombus aspiration, you assess the underlying lesion. If there's no dissection or ruptured plaque or an unstable underlying lesion, or if it is a eccentric a defined stenosis underlying on top of which there is thrombus, then you stent them.
You think if it's a non-critical 30-40% plaque with, underlying plaque looking healthy,
Yes.
you just leave it?
You thrombus aspirate.
Irrespective of the anatomy of the plaque, is it?
Exactly.
Even proximal LED, you would just leave it alone?
Yep, she was left alone. You lobar inflate, get the, after thrombus aspiration, if the underlying lesion is not unstable, you lobar inflate to just make sure you smoothen the edges and leave them alone.
You IVUS routinely after thrombus aspiration to check the anatomy?
Not usually, unless I have a doubt if the distal wire motion is aggressive, suggesting that the LV is recovering well, the TIMI flow is established, TIMI 3, and the patient's EKG settles down, hemodynamically stable, there's really no reason to do IVUS.
In select cases, maybe you are right, but these are the unstable plaques. That's why thrombus has formed over them. So it's very, very hard to believe that
Exactly.
you will leave a...
Yeah. That's why I showed the example, and also we have...
it's only in young patients or smokers who present, sometimes it's only a thrombus load actually and not much atheroma.
All STEMIs are not same,
Yeah.
is to say that there should be a different approach to the subset that has acute thrombus as a presentation and not necessarily, the typical example in this case, as you see the rest of the anatomy is not bad. You don't want to just go ahead and put a stent in the LAD also for no good reason.
Actually, under thrombotic situations, when to stent is many times an issue.
Yeah.
And so many times, no flow as you begin STEMI, and you wire it and you see a small trickle going. At this stage, you just directly stent. It works wonderfully well, but these are all recent, like 1 hour or 2 hour old infarcts.
Yes.
If same kind of case, which is you're doing 12 hours or 24 hours later, it doesn't happen.
Right, those two examples, in the two cases that we had who died despite revascularization came in late, so the myocardium is already significantly affected. They must be distal showering. These cases, thrombus aspiration does help stabilize, but a lot of times they don't.
I think typically most of our cases, 50% at least come like 12 hours and around.
Right.
So even if you put a wire and you see a flow,
right.
I would be very hesitant to put a
There's
stent.
actually a group out in West Coast in USA who's doing a protocol I do it in the emergency room, front-loading anticoagulation. They're actually doing a protocol of doing front-loading at the site. That's actually a study, ongoing study in US now.
Anticoagulation means you just...
2 to 3 agents given...
Pre-cath.
Yep, by the medics.
You're talking of transfer
at the
time
site.
of about 20-30 minutes,
Right,
isn't it?
right.
20 minutes from
Right
ER
when they,
to cath lab.
when they go to pick up the patient, the ambulance itself they give.
Yeah, I think it has its own good as well as bad.
Right.
But the study says that when you take the first picture, if you have some flow going down,
You should
which I
wait.
guess it could be attributed to the GP blockers used by the ER people,
Right.
I think it's a huge advantage compared to
Exactly.
doing a PAMI
Right.
with a totally blocked vessel.
Right. In fact, the other common thing I try to do if the patient, if the case allows, is to not aggressively do angioplasty. If there is, sometimes if the vessel recanalized, you can even wait on them, because the complication rate of intervention in a thrombotic situation is anywhere between 13 to 18% as opposed to if you wait. which is in the 7% range.
The
So
dictum is
almost
if you have
doubles.
good flow down, I think stent it,
Right.
otherwise hesitate and
Exactly.
come back a bit.
Thank you, Dr.
Actually, this was systematically reviewed recently. There's a publication in Eurointervention about
Yes.
not just for this case, but they've systematically reviewed how to defer putting a stent
Exactly.
in acute MI after allow for vessel passivation. I don't think we have enough data as yet to really, and we go by what Sirish has said, that if we don't have TB3 flow, you put in a stent, you may lose even the flow that you have with no
Exactly.
reflow.
You could do more harm than help at that
We
point.
really don't have precise data to make strong recommendations as yet.
Okay, thank you.